Welcome back to one of my favorite sports podcasts, Frizz and the Grizz, with your host Trudeau and my guy, Frizzy Frizz.
Hello and welcome back to Frizz and the Grizz. It's your boy Trudeau. Thank you for joining us live Tuesday, June 2nd, or next day on podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Apple, Spotify, all those good places. Hook your boys up, rate, subscribe, review. And if you're listening on podcasts, watch us live, YouTube or Twitch. Hit our boy up, D _ Frizzy _ Nope, there's not a second underscore, is there? You tell for the people.
D Frizzy _ Frizz 5. You got me messing up.
It ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. You know what it is? It's a 2-week layoff. I feel a little rusty. My voice feels rusted, though. I'm good to go. D, what'd it do? How was your 2 weeks?
2 weeks have been phenomenal, but I got to kick this off the way that we've been starting to kick it off. Happy fucking Tuesday, baby. But did it? Did you hear it? No.
I heard you.
But did you hear the air horn go off?
Yep.
Oh, word. I didn't hear it. I don't have the sound on for myself. I'm glad you heard it. Word.
You are good, man. How are your 2 weeks?
It's been good. I'm trying to think if there was like a holiday or something that I missed in the last 2 weeks, but a lot of getting stuff done. Oh, I actually, a good accomplishment. So have this whole workout shit set up in my garage. Actually cleared up the area, worked out, and I'm contemplating never doing it again because it's miserable working out as like a 36, 37-year-old that has not worked out in a very long time. It like everything hurts. It like brought me back to like 20 years ago playing like freshman basketball and wanting to throw up because of like sprints and whatnot. That's how I felt yesterday. It's awful.
The garage workout's an interesting one. I want to see you actually take the bench and just put it in the front yard and debo that shit, just like doing bench presses in the front yard in the grass with the neighbors walking by.
So like I started doing like I had the garage door open because I was like, let me get some fresh air in here. And like as I'm on the treadmill, I was like, I look like a sad sack of shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that halfway so nobody can look in and drive by and see this dude dying on his treadmill. But yeah, it's a sad sight. How the mighty have fallen from where we were 20 years ago.
Oh,
ready for camp.
Don't drop
me. I'll say me. We. Me.
Your boy's getting up at like 5:30 every day doing some deadlifts and squats at the gym. All right.
I can't do it. I mean, I'm saying getting up in the morning. I can't do the morning workout. I didn't do it in college. Well, I did in college, but I hated it. So now that I get the choice, I don't want to do it anymore.
I don't blame you, man. Very fun show for you guys today. It's going to be predominantly basketball, NBA stuff, because since the 2 weeks you've been off, it's been on fire NBA stuff. We're talking new coaches, NBA draft, free agency, trades, anything that can involve transactions in the NBA. It has happened. And we all know both me and Deke have close to our heart a little basketball. So let's get into it. Let's talk some NBA. D, I want to get off jump with the biggest NBA move in the free agency market, and one that we wholeheartedly disagree on as far as how we perceive the move. Paul George. D is on the pro Paul George side with the 76ers saying it's the best move ever, the greatest thing since LeBron going to South. I'm just kidding. I'm overhyping it, but you are pro Paul George. I actually think it might be a little fool's gold. D, you go first. You were telling me that even though they only have 3 guys, really, that this team's going to be okay.
So it's not about them only having 3 guys. Part of their biggest issues over the past 5 years is playoff basketball. The regular season doesn't matter for the 76ers. They're going to get to the playoffs, right? They're just 1 through 4, 1 through 5, whatever. Go ahead. Start off with injuries. Talk about it. Go ahead.
Don't Don't even start playoff basketball because they signed playoff P, one of the worst performances in the playoff. But go ahead, continue your point.
Joke and clown on Paul George, but like the dude will go out there and average 25 and 8. Like that's a bad thing. But anyways, I'll get back to it. So Philly essentially picking up and signing Paul George. I think he would have fit probably better in Golden State just based off of like the way that they are able to move up fast. But Maxi's just as quick, right? I think you got Maxi, Embiid, and Paul George in this non-3 superstar league anymore. I think this team has the ability of running it the way that it's supposed to because of Maxi being the superstar. Maxi is the guy that is the healthy, young, like gunner for this team. Embiid took a back seat last year. Even when he was in the playoffs, Maxi was going off for 30 and like 12, right? Embiid on one leg, half an arm, half a face, went out there and averaged 40 and 15. Like the man was beat to shit, and I know that we're having some internet issues. So I see my co-host shaking his head, but essentially, Embiid going out there as injured as he was to be able to perform the way he did and push the Knicks, bringing in Paul George is going to replace Tobias Harris, who they didn't have as a third, not even superstar, but a third star that he's supposed to be with the amount of money he's made to be able to help them win series. Tobias Harris went into games where he would score literally 0 points. That's not going to get it done. And Paul George, no matter how much you want to clown on him for being playoff P, he's not going out there and scoring 0 points in a playoff game.
So, like, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that adding Paul George is a major upgrade to Tobias Harris. Like, Tobias Harris was a complete lemon in the playoffs. I give you that. My issue is that, you know, if we're thinking back 10 years, we're thinking about the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat, everyone wanted 3. You know, you want the big 3. It was like the big buzzword, a big 3. We all have to have a big 3. This past year, they signed a new CBA. There's 2 salary cap aprons. There's a first apron, second apron. As you progress higher into that salary level and enter the first, second apron, there's more and more restrictions on your team as far as team building. We've seen this past year with the Phoenix Suns, the idea of having 3 max contracts on your team, what that does to you. Ultimately, the Suns did not work out because they had no depth, and their supporting cast was absolutely horrendous. We just saw the Clippers, who had 3 max guys, essentially jettison Paul George. Like, they could have kept Paul George. He just wanted a 4th year. And I was listening to the Hoop Collective today, and they made a compelling case that even giving him 3 years, they're still going to be in salary cap hell. So it was almost like they were kind of gently forcing his ass out of the Clippers. And part of that reason is that it's so hard in the new CBA rules to do a team building and build your team out with these 3 massive salary hits. I'm looking at Philly. Embiid's salary cap hit next year is 36% of the cap. Paul George is 35. Tyrese Maxey's 25. I'm not great at math, but that's more or less 95% of your cap space right there. My issue, right, with this pickup is, like, while it looks good and flashy on paper, I'm concerned that it's going to be very, very difficult to build out this roster to have complementary pieces. Like, yeah, you have 3 really good players, but we've seen now in the past couple of years, it's not just like a big 3 that wins championships. It's important to have very good complementary pieces around you. Think about Celtics this year. Think about the Nuggets last year, and then typical Golden State teams. Like, each of these championship teams have complementary pieces that are good defenders, can play a role, and I just don't think with this salary situation with the Philadelphia 76ers that they can actually have a competitive roster around the 3 guys.
So I don't know the way the cap works out the way that you do. I just see it as, if I look at an older player that's available in free agency, that's who you can move around money for to have them play for your team. Back end the money, or instead of front loading it, especially with like the cap and whatnot. I don't know if there's signing bonuses in the NBA. I don't follow that type of stuff the way that you do. But what I do look at is them bringing in, I know we clown about it, but he's a solid backup big. They brought in Andre Drummond. That's going to help them out when it comes to spilling. I'm not expecting rebound lord Drummond where he was averaging 20 boards a game and 10 points off of 70% shooting because they're all putback dunks. Not expecting that, but he can at least help protect the paint in the middle when Embiid's out. And then obviously when he comes back in, obviously he's not worried. You know, you don't have to worry about him offensively. They picked up Eric Gordon, a solid pickup, right? Like a good shooter. And there's still names out there, names that we talked about off air, that like they're people that are just getting older. One name that jumps off of it, I know he's not as old, but Gary Trent Jr. You talked about him. What's the cost for him? Obviously, Buddy Hield hasn't re-signed. Tyus Jones is a backup guard, hasn't signed. Malik Beasley.
Oh.
These are all two-way guards that are 30 plus years old, that are on the tail end of their careers, that you potentially could pick up to help fill those pieces. Obviously, with Maxey, PG, and Embiid.
Yeah, I don't know if Buddy Hield, if he has bird rights, they can probably do that. Where they are now at the salary structure, and again, I'm not a salary cap expert, but I'm guessing they have one mid-level exception to offer, so they can use that on a player. So they can get their Gary Trent Jr. or something like that. If they do have the bird rights on Buddy, then they can go over the cap to re-sign him. That's great. I guess that's getting you there. They're probably gonna have to bring back Kyle Lowry.
They brought back Oubre. I forgot about that too.
I know, but like Oubre, Drummond, and the rookie, like that's not making you excited. Like you need to have veteran, complete, comprehensive players to win a championship. You're talking about a rookie.
Hold on now. So Aaron Gordon in Denver wasn't a complimentary player to their style. Just like Oubre could be.
Aaron Gordon is much better than Oubre. You cannot compare those two.
One of them can shoot and the other one can't. What are you talking about? And this is where we're going to defer. Kelly Oubre can actually shoot. Aaron Gordon can't. If he's not in the dunker spot, he is very limited on the offensive end.
He can post you up. He can play defensively multiple positions. He does have a value, an intrinsic value. I don't know. We'll see what happens. As far as like the cap ramifications, I don't know if you're aware, but so if they get into that second apron, which I'm assuming they'll try to avoid because teams are really pushing hard to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the penalties include you cannot trade. If you want to trade for a player, it has to be a perfectly matching salary and a 1-for-1.
Gotcha.
Like literally, like if you're making $1 million and I'm making $1,001,000, you cannot trade for each other.
Got it.
You can't aggregate salaries. You can't sign any buyout guys in the buyout market. You can only sign minimum contracts. What else? If you are in the cap, if you're in the second apron for more than 1 year, you lose a first round pick, or it becomes the last pick in the first round. Like there are so many different ways to just beat you out of that apron. And if I'm Philly, I'm just saying you have to be very, very meticulous about the rest of your signings. Maury's a smart dude. I'm sure he can figure something out. I don't think this is the last move. And right now, my opinion is sour on the move for Philly. I think they're better on paper and people are going to get excited about the names. But we'll see. It's not complete. Maybe Maury has a few more moves up his sleeve. But as of today, I don't think they're competing yet with the Celtics. I don't think they're competing yet with the Knicks. I would take the Bucks over them. Like there are so many teams that I feel better about, especially considering, and you're rolling your head. Lack of depth,
yep,
and Embiid's health, and Paul George's health.
So I'll agree with you on.
That's my point.
I'll agree with you on depth because no team in the NBA is as deep at their I would say like identity as the Boston Celtics. No team. So if the comparison is to just be as deep as Boston, no team is going to match. So you have to go to the next level down and see, are there teams out there that are 5, 6, maybe 7 players in a rotation strong? And this team can get there. And I know you joked, or not even joked, but like you said you didn't care about it, but Philly picking up the kid from UConn is going to help defensively whenever Maxey has to leave, and you don't have to rely on a Kyle Lowry, who's a little bit older, right? Like you get in a young gunner that's going to help you right away. It's not like it's somebody that, didn't perform. I think it's Jared McCain, freshman ACC player of the year. Like they have players that are going to make impact plays right away. And with free agency still going on, obviously, the farther it goes without there being a buzz, a Woj bomb or a Shams, whatever it's called, that means the money for everybody's going down. It's everybody's getting cheaper the longer that we wait. It's tough because the whole internet thing right now.
No, I'm listening to you. I hear you. Yeah, we'll see. Again, this is one of those things. We'll have to see where this finishes up because it's not a finished product right now. But I think we agree to disagree on some of that stuff. One team I do really like as far as what they've done this offseason so far, Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they've absolutely nailed this out of the park. The Thunder. We're talking
for sure.
Two moves that are kind of.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking over each other. I wanted to give a big shout out to Agile Knight. Appreciate the sub, man. Thank you very much for joining in with us today.
Thank you, Nate. No, but on the Thunder, I know it's two moves that are not going to make major headlines. I know we talked a lot about the Caruso-Giddey trade last week before the draft and before free agency, but I think the Thunder have absolutely nailed this offseason so far. They got a guy in Caruso that was super heavily coveted around the league last year at the deadline. They get him for just a player that they actually want to jettison. Giddey, all jokes aside, like he does have a lot of potential and upside the way he plays. He's a non-shooter, needs the ball on his hand, so it didn't really fit what was going on in Oklahoma City. I get why they want to get rid of him. And in return, they get a guy who has championship experience, shoot the ball, play excellent defense, multiple positions, fits right into what Oklahoma City is trying to do. One of the issues that Oklahoma City had last year that they're criticized for was size and rebounding inside. Then they go ahead, take their free agency, their cap space, get Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks, who not only is a big who can rebound, plays tough, he's an excellent passer as a big man. I think Oklahoma City, they were the 1 seed last year. They're on track to being the 1 seed again this year in the West.
So, and I know we want to try to disagree with a lot of things, which is the reason why you let off with Philly, but I'm going to agree with you and say I think this was the steal of free agency. More importantly, I think the trade with Caruso just proves that OKC not only won the trade of getting rid of Paul George via draft picks that they got rid of for the amount of return that they received on that, but they know how to build a team. They looked up in the Northeast and saw draft picks will get you specific spots in the draft, and then signing veterans will help you as long as you don't overpay. Getting Caruso via Josh Giddey, I think, was an absolute steal. Like you mentioned, championship DNA. And I think the biggest signing they could have had to help out Chet You Betcha down there was Isaiah Hartenstein post the way that he performed in the playoffs. His stock went through the roof because of what he was able to do in the playoffs. And I think you strike while the iron's hot. I don't think they overpaid for him. 3-year deals is enough to obviously get you guys some little leeway if he does fizzle out. But I think he's going to be able to contribute right away and drop, Chet to the 4 if needed, or they just go back and forth where there's 2 5s on the court, and you got to worry about people. You got to worry about him being in the paint, and Chet can kind of do his dribble pull up that we know that he's prone to.
Yeah, I think he also gives the Thunder a lot of lineup flexibility because, like you said, we know Chet can play the 5. He's a little undersized, but he can also slide to the 4 because of his perimeter shooting and his skill set. Mm-hmm. So I really like the move. It's going to protect a lot of their deficiencies from last year. And then obviously with Caruso, you give up Giddey. What do you think about Giddey in the Bulls? Because the Bulls are an interesting case. We don't really know what they're trying to do. You and me both have been saying for years since we started the podcast, like this Bulls team needs to tear it down, restart from fresh. They've been kind of middle of the pack, trying to make the play-in every year. It seems like they're trying to go that route. Right, they're still stuck with Levine. No one really wants that contract. We don't know what's going to happen to DeRozan. He might be gone this year. Getting Giddey, he does have some issues as far as being a non-shooter now, but he is a very skilled passer. has a lot of upside, and he's 22 years old. So we don't know what he's going to be as a fully formed player at this point.
Giddey needs to develop into a defender of some type because he's not. It's going to be hard to keep him on the floor in playoff situations when teams can't. If they make the playoffs, I know this is thinking too far ahead, but should they make a play in, teams will be able to game plan against how weak he is as a defender. Like he's not even really getting like lane steals because we know how bad Curry was, but you couldn't really pass the ball around Curry because he had great anticipation. He would lead the league in steals just based off of interceptions, right? Like not on ball steals. Giddey's got to figure out a way to do that. And with Chicago as a whole, granted, good draft pick. They picked the kid, Matas Bazulis, probably mispronouncing his name. The kid out of the G League Ignite before they got shut down. 6'9" big, like a 6'9" pseudo big guard. So I think they're in that middling area because they have Kobe White, right? They got Giddey, and then they have this draft pick. They're like, well, we can't tear it down because we have these new guys, but they also have Vucevic and Levine's contracts. So like they have to play those guys because of those contracts. You can't tear down when you have old contract bums. I won't call bum. I like Zach LaVine. He's one of my favorite players. But you have old contract players eating up minutes to those that are the younger guys. You can't tear it down because everybody sees that. And they're like, oh, we'll trade you for Zach LaVine. You take the contract, like the Russell Westbrook. You keep the contract. We'll just take the player. And everybody's going to be like, I'm not doing that.
I think they would love to tear it down if they could. But again, they're stuck with that contract, Levine. It's a negative contract at this point. Maybe someone by the deadline will feel like they're one piece away and they'll just eat the money. And if you're the Bulls, maybe Levine plays good in the first half. You can move off that. I don't know. That's like their pipe dream probably. The Vucevic contract is what it is. I think it's $25 million or $25 a year for the next 2 years, which is it's not bad. You can just ride that out. I think they're doing the slow rebuild. Another team that was always middling, right, for the past year or so, and again, they're a perennial play-in team. A lot of experts like they should probably tear it down, but they were very unwilling to. The Brooklyn Nets. They finally made the move. I don't get the hype on Mikal Bridges. I don't know if you're a big Mikal Bridges guy. I think he's a good player. I think he's an interesting player. He's a very big wing. You know, I think he's like 6'9" as a 3-4, which means he can probably defend legitimately the 2 through 4 defensively.
Yep.
Great outside shooter, can get to the bucket, draw fouls. So like he's an interesting player, but he's not proven to be a franchise. He could be a franchise cornerstone as like a 3 on a really, really good team. Let me just finish. But he's yet to make an all-star. And what they got in return for the Knicks for him, I believe it's 4 first-round picks and 2 swaps, if I'm not mistaken, all unprotected, which is wild to me.
Draft picks for a team that has championship implications, they don't care. And New York has risen to that because of the way that they finished last season. If they didn't, they are pushing Boston. I'm not going to say, winning the East, but they're pushing Boston to at least 6 or 7. If New York healthy matched up against them, they got the size to match everybody. They have the grit to match up. We saw Boston struggle against teams like Miami, and New York is a better shooting Miami, right? They have the ability to shoot the ball better than the Heat did. So the Mikal Bridges signing, it's not so much about bringing in a superstar, especially, granted, you talked about this, the 3-star league is done and over with. He's exactly what you want. He's not the superstar. He's the star. He's the guy that may make an all-NBA defensive team. He's not going to be an all-star. He doesn't need to be. He fills a role. He fills the role of making sure whoever is the primary scorer on the other side of the ball, he can lock up. It's going to free up Josh Hart. Obviously, we saw how good he became at rebounding this season. It's going to help Julius Randle when he returns. We're going to see Jalen Brunson, after he's elevated himself into superstardom, right? MVP votes. And Dante, I forgot about Dante. Dante DiVincenzo, the chemistry that they have, along with the coaching ability of Tibbs, you don't need Mikal Bridges to be a superstar All NBA max contract player. You get rid of those draft picks to pull him in because you are a healthy season away from being in the Eastern Conference Finals and potentially pushing the team that won the championship at least to 6 or 7. I can't speak for winning it. Boston went on an incredible run, but we've seen them struggle against teams like the Heat, who are tough, gritted teams, beat you down, and that's what the Knicks do. But the Knicks can also, I don't know, shoot threes better than the Heat did.
Yeah, I guess if you think about these picks from the Knicks, most of them are likely to be out of the lottery for the least the
Bottom
first
half.
years. Yeah, the least 2 of them are going to be out of the lottery. You would think. The one thing that I will give credit on the Mikal Bridges front, not to him directly, but as far as the value of him, is he's on a very good contract. I know I just probably phased down. You probably didn't hear what I said, but I was saying
No, I
on
did.
the Mikal Bridges front. You heard what I said?
I did. I just forgot about OG Anunoby. We just completely forgot about them resigning him.
Yeah. Let me finish my point though. Is his contract's really good.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges is getting 23 next year and 25 the year after, which with the ascending cap in the next couple of years, that's a fairly low number. The one thing that the Knicks have that really benefits them, dude, it's not me. The one thing the Knicks have that really benefits them though, right now, is that they have a lot of really good contracts on the book. Did you hear what I said?
Yes, everything. And I don't think it's you, but it's something because I'm watching. I have to watch to make sure that there's no internet issues, and you're the only one that's fading in and out, my brother. So it's not. It might not be you directly, but it might be your connection to StreamYard.
All right. I was saying they have good contracts on the book.
Yes.
Obviously, we're talking about Mikal Bridges with like 25 a year, and then, I mean, honestly, the contract for my guy. Oh my god, I'm like stressing because the internet keeps cutting out right now on me. It's insane. Who's their point guard? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. Thank you. His contract. People clown the Knicks for signing him for I think it was 4 years, 100 million. That might be the best contract in the NBA right now.
100% is the best contract in the NBA for what we just saw Jason Tatum get signed for, $63 million a year. Yeah, I'd say paying Jalen Brunson 25 for him to be an MVP caliber player. You hit the note on the right spot on that one.
So one quick aside that may have slipped under the cracks on this Mikal Bridges trade is, so the Nets have been very reluctant to go full tank, partially because they don't own their own picks, right? If you remember back to the big 3 Nets with Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, they had to send the Rockets 3 first-round picks of their own. The Nets sent 3 first-round picks to the Rockets in order to get Harden. So it's like, why are we tanking? If we tank, we're just benefiting the Rockets. We don't get anything beneficial out of it.
Right.
While they made that trade to trade away Bridges, they also rerouted some of the picks they got from the Suns for Kevin Durant. They sent Suns picks to Houston. D, why is that?
I'm not following on this. There's too many loops for it.
All right.
To follow. Just get straight to the point.
Houston gave the Nets their first round picks back. Now the Nets have the ability to tank because they have their stuff. If they suck, they get the benefit from it.
Yep.
In return, they gave Houston the Suns' first round picks. And now you have Houston looking at the Suns like, I know shit's getting tough over there with those 3 max contracts. We have your out right here, buddy. We have your out. You can have your stuff back if you want to rebuild this thing. So my understanding is Houston's actively trying to get Kevin Durant from the Suns.
Yeah, but I already knew that part then.
Yeah, the Suns are not willing to budget at this point, but you wait. If they're 500 on the deadline,
yeah,
there might be different opinions on that.
They start 5 and 15. Those phone lines are going to be ringing off the hook 100%. And it ain't like it can't happen. we don't know. I know we're not really talking too many active rosters, but like we have no idea what the hell is going on with Bradley Beal over there. Devin Booker still doesn't know if he's a point guard or a shooting guard, and Kevin Durant is going to get you 30, but like they got no defense still, and nobody came in there to help save Phoenix. You know, they signed Budenholzer as a coach, but I don't really think that's going to flip their script. They got a lot to figure out over there in Phoenix right now. So I did know about the Phoenix, the Houston looking at KD. I know that they were looking at Booker because like he's obviously the more appetizing pick, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll settle on KD if that's the case.
All right, and before we talk about just some of the general free agency stuff and draft, the last kind of big move I want to talk about, because there was a lot of all-star caliber players moving teams this past week and a half, 2 weeks. And this is another trade that we kind of disagreed on, at least via text, it sounded like. DeJounte Murray leaving the Atlanta Hawks, heading down south to the Big Easy. I guess he was already down south, but heading to the Big Easy in New Orleans. The Hawks receive 2 first-round picks. One was 2025, one's 2027. They get Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels. I personally thought this was a great trade for the Pelicans. I know you might be a little bit more down on DeJounte Murray at this point. You know, he did go initially from the Spurs to the Hawks for, I think, 3 first-round picks, so they're not getting the same value back, and rightfully so. It hasn't been a very pretty experience in Atlanta, but to me, a lot of that came out of the fact that him and Trae Young together, the experiment, it was an absolute failure. Both of these guys needed the ball, and you can't both have the ball at the same time. And I just think that aspect really diminished his ability to perform on the court. I think what you're getting if you're the New Orleans Pelicans, CJ McCollum has been very unreliable the past couple of years as far as his performance, injury, and all that stuff. You're getting a younger guard to pair with McCollum, and more importantly, pair with Zion. I think this also indicates that the Brandon Ingram experiment in New Orleans is probably over as well.
Well, I think they can play side by side. They're not the same position. And
McCollum.
Yeah, well, I meant Murray and Ingram. I don't think that's. I wouldn't say, unless you're talking money wise. Okay, then I can see that.
And they're
want to get paid.
Yeah, they're unwilling at this point to give him what he wants. Money.
If that's the case, then yeah, I was thinking more fit. I was like, I mean, they're different positions. They
not fit.
Gotcha. So yeah, if there's money implications, then I could see that being an issue. The reason why I didn't agree with I thought there was an overpay for the Murray thing. I think it was more of like the sticker shock, like 2 first rounders, what? And then like the more I look back on, I'm just like, well, I was kind of just defending Mikal Bridges going for 4 picks. So like, I guess it really isn't that bad of a trade. You just gotta hope that you get the tail end of, the Spurs Murray versus what you got in Atlanta Murray, because the picks, and this is again part of the way that these teams, it's almost like the teams are finally doing what people do in video games. Like we're not planning on being in the lottery, right? Like our goal, if our teams are healthy, is to be in the playoffs, not in the play-in. And I think what did New Orleans missed it by like a couple of games last season. Yeah, they were the 8th seed. They missed it by 1 game. So like if they win 1 more game, 3 more games, they're not in the play-in having to deal with, potentially being a lottery team. So you get rid of those picks. It's not, looking back on it, it's really not that bad of a deal. The return could be worth more than what you may have gotten should you have waited in free agency and not gotten anybody, or get to the trade deadline in the regular season and then have to force being a buyer because it's not working out for whoever you have on the court, obviously. Now you kind of have that piece, that dangling piece of Brandon Ingram that you can just get rid of, like you're saying, if it becomes a money issue. If it is a money issue, you can just get rid of it and you still have a scorer / playmaker on the team.
Yeah, my understanding is they're likely going to try to move Ingram potentially for a big, because right now on their roster, I don't think they don't have no Valanciunas. They just traded away Larry Nance Jr. So I don't think they have any centers on the roster as of today.
Who they draft?
I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram was traded, but before. I have no idea. I have it on my screen. I can figure it out as we're talking.
No, you good.
But one of the interesting things about,
And there he goes.
you said,
oh, you're back.
The stuff like that. You were saying, it's not the old NBA when you were you're hoping to just pick some up in the lottery and hold on to your picks. I think part of this is that with the new CBA, and I keep harping back to CBA, it's going to fundamentally change the way teams approach this. If you're penalized severely for going over the cap number, a certain amount of money, so like if you're in that second apron, if you start re-signing everyone and giving everyone their contracts, let's think of the Golden State Warriors when they had Kevin Durant, Clay, Steph, and Draymond. If you're that team who has a ton of talent, you can really only do that for like a year, 2 years. Once the team starts getting too expensive, you're going to have to make difficult decisions, right? And I think what teams are doing is like, hey, when you see the window open up a little bit right now, you got to go all the way in because these windows are going to shut fast once you go start paying dudes. And it's creating an environment where teams are becoming super aggressive as soon as they see an opportunity. Think about the Celtics last year with those trades to get Kristaps and Drew. You're looking at the Knicks this year, looking at the Pelicans this year. Like, teams are going to be super aggressive to say, hey, we have a chance, just go for it. And also, if you think of it this way, as far as picks are concerned, the draft lottery odds have changed over the past like 5-6 years to make the odds more flat. So even if you're like the worst team in the world, like let's say the Pistons, they finished 5th in the lottery 3 years in a row. There's no guarantee, even if you're terrible or even if you hold the pick of a team that is bad, that might not pan out for you. So use it or lose it. Just use those picks and try to strike when the fire's hot.
It's a little bit more than that too. I don't know why I'm stuttering, but it's a little bit more than that too, because just look at the history of the past 3 years for drafting. Maybe outside of Wemby, there's really no clear-cut number one like franchise builder, right? Wemby is your guy, but like, wasn't it Cade Cunningham a couple of seasons ago? Sure, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really think he's panning out to be a franchise player. I know, a couple of years prior to, last year or this past season, like the kids from France, like these aren't guys that like automatically become, the keys to the engine of your franchise. They're players that can develop into those type of players, but they're not instant success outside of Wemby. So like those picks may not be as valuable, right? And the number one overall projected player for next year's draft, the kid that's down in Duke, Cooper Flag, the main event, he's like, yeah, he's good, but like, is he the next LeBron James, right? Like, is he a guy that is going to flip a franchise, or is he going to be a guy that you draft number one and then he develops into being a great player, right? Like, so like, how valuable are those first round picks to teams that usually are drafting between 15 and 20 because they're pushing for the playoffs?
Cooper's supposed to be that dude. Like, he's not going to be Wemby, LeBron, like level prospect, but he's supposed to be really good. That's all I'm going to say on that one.
One of the only guys that I've actually watched play. He looks good, and I'm gonna probably catch a Duke game this year to go watch him live. Like, I'm love that because they got him and this other dude, big black dude, can't remember his name, but like he big buff dude, like muscle bound center, and I'm like, dog, you don't look like a basketball player, you look like a football player. And they got both of them, so like it should be a fun time. Last time they had big buff dude that could jump out the gym was Zion, and we know what he did in Duke.
On the Hawks side of this, I think we agree it's an aggressive move by the Pelicans. Win now move, but I think we both like the move for the Pelicans in some sense. With the Hawks remind me of the Nets a couple years ago now, because I don't know what their plan is. Right? They get rid of DeJounte Murray. I mean, I think we can both agree that like one of them had to go, whether it be Trey or DeJounte Murray. It just didn't work out. You get some picks out of that. They have like a youngish team, but they're not quite rebuilding. The Hawks kind of confuse me as far as what their long-term goals are.
Are you frozen or waiting for me?
No, I'm waiting for you. I'm confused by the
I don't know
Hawks.
what their goals would be either. Like they're a middling team. They haven't had an identity since that they had that roster that would be number 1 in the East and then lose in the first round. Back when they had Josh Smith, Al Horford, you know, Kyle Korver, like that group of guys that would always get beat by the Cavs. They've been a middler, or not even a middler. They've been a miss the playoffs, not even the play-in, but like miss the whole thing for the past like 5 years. Even when they had Murray, like, excuse me, not just Murray, but when they had Trey for 1 year get to the Eastern Conference Finals, he did nothing after that. And it's like that's what you had. You had one flash in the pan.
I almost feel like that Eastern Conference Finals run for the Hawks might have been like more harm than good for that franchise, because it gave them a sense of fool's gold as far as what that team could do, and now they're just stuck
100%.
in no man's land. Do you want to talk about we talked about some of the big moves as far as guys who are all-star levels or close to that being moved. Let's just talk about a couple subsidiary ones. Sure. Are there any other free agency moves that you were particularly interested in, liked?
I mean, I know that you said you didn't really care for it, but I'm a big fan of Clay going to Dallas. I think for the cost, it's a cheap-ended contract for somebody that can potentially revitalize their career. I see him fitting like the Ray Allen role in his life, meaning I don't need you to do anything besides just be ready to shoot. That's it. Make sure that you can stay in front of your defender, which Clay has never been a bad defender. He's been notoriously
bad defender now.
He's a bad defender now. Okay. I mean, well, hey, that just fits, I guess, the mold for Dallas. They can't play defense. So like he fits in perfectly there. You just need him to be ready to spot up. And if he can hit 5-6 threes a game just because he's open, you got to deal with Kyrie and Luka pretty much ball dominating. We saw Clay score 60 points off of 3 dribbles. So like he doesn't need the ball in his hand to create. He just needs to spot up, shoot in the corner. And I think he has the ability of, now I don't think you can bring him to a championship and win it like Ray Allen, but he may get them over that hump of, all right, this was a battle to get to the Western Conference Final. It might be a little bit more of a cruise now.
I mean, I saw the signing for Clay. My thoughts, honestly, was, all right, I don't think he's got that much left in the tank. He was pretty bad in Golden State. He was even closing out games last year. He was getting pulled in crunch time. It's a name. I think people are going to recognize.
He also needed to be the number 2 in Golden State. He doesn't have to be the number 2 in Dallas.
He couldn't even stay on the court in crunch time. He was getting minutes taken away from Podziemski, Brandon Podziemski, the rookie. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a we'll see thing. I think personally the Mavs run was a little bit of fool's gold. I don't think they're going to be. It's going to be an easy path back to the finals. There was a lot of circumstances in that playoffs that helped them get to where they were. And the Western Conference is tough. So just to say, oh, they have Clay, they were so close to winning a championship, they got to the Celtics in the finals. I don't think getting Clay changes anything for them. It's a move, though, that they had to make a move. They can't just sit there on their hands. But I don't think I would have rather see them get KCP. I don't know what they're going to pay Clay or what the number was. But if they got a guy like KCP, then I'm getting excited for them.
Clay is like 4 for 20 per. No, 3 for 20 per. It's not a high number. It's very, very small for Klay Thompson. It's not something that's going to hurt your
it was 3 for 50
per
$16 million a year. Okay, $16 million a year.
So I was off by $4 million. Give me a break, man. I knew it was close. So $16 million a year isn't handcuffing you. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But he stretches the floor more than a Derrick Jones Jr. did. He's going to be able to hit that spot up jump shot that I know that they had. Forgive me for the name. Who was the guy that actually hit a bunch of shots for them? Not hit a bunch, but actually was able to show up on PJ Washington. PJ Washington was decent, And if Clay is in a role where all he has to do is just shoot, shooters don't just lose it. They don't, it does. You might have a bad season, but Clay's bad season is better than a lot of people's like averages or career highs. Like I'm not as down on Clay Thompson as I know a lot of people are. They want to clown him for shooting 0 for 11 in a closeout game, but like he doesn't have that role anymore. He doesn't need to be the two. He can be the third or the fourth best player on the team, just like Ray Allen was. But guess what happens in those clutch moments? He's going to hit that three. And that's all they need him for. Catch the ball and shoot. Luka drives, kicks out, shot. That's all we need you to do.
Signing I did like my Orlando Magic.
Yes.
Contavious Caldwell-Pope. I thought that was. I was hoping for the Paul George thing for Orlando. I thought Paul George would be the actual perfect fit for them. And I say that because Orlando is a team. Don't shake your head. Orlando is a team that already has that supporting cast. They're the opposite Philly. Orlando is 8-9 guys deep supporting
Gary
cast.
Harris. Yeah.
If they could use some of that cap space to fill in a top end score, that's what they kind of needed. But another thing they did really need, 3-point shooting. And I think KCP does fill a need there. He's a better defender than what they had in Gary Harris at the 2. And he's going to make that defense even better. And they were a top 5 defense at the end of the year. I like it. And it wasn't a huge number, 3 for $22 million. I think the questionable thing here is that why didn't Denver throw the same number out there? Like, why couldn't Denver do the same thing? My understanding of the situation is Denver cheaped out. Their owners are being kind of cheap and didn't want to go in the tax with that. And if you're unfamiliar with what the tax is, I keep using the word tax. The NBA has a salary cap. Once you go over it, you pay additional money to a pot. You lose money as an owner, depending on how much over the cap you are. So if you're $10 million over the cap, you might have to pay an extra $4 million and just throw it in the trash, essentially throwing it into that pool of money for the NBA. So sometimes owners will look at signing a player and be like, well, he's only going to cost my team $20 million on the books, but I'm going to have to pay an additional $10 million in tax. So it's costing me out of my pocket $30 million. I don't want to do that. And I think this might be a situation where the Nuggets ownership didn't want to pay the extra money, which is crazy because like this is a team that 2 years ago won the championship. Yep. They have a guy who's potentially probably the best player in the world. I don't know if like people want to argue Luka now is the best player, but they have the best player in the world, and they're cheaping out. That season after season, you lose KCP this year, and was it Bruce Brown the year before? This team's hemorrhaging. I know I want to praise Orlando, but at the same time, I think Denver's cooked.
Yeah, I think it's they're getting picked apart so bad. Them losing Jeff Green 2 years ago was significant. Bruce Brown was just as bad of a loss, and now KCP they're not, and they haven't done anything in free agency to pick up anyone. I think they got one draft pick or a major draft pick, just in the first round, not even major, but they got a first rounder. But they've done nothing in free agency in a year after getting dominated by a younger, faster, and more agile Minnesota team. Like Minnesota's not going away, right? Like Minnesota may get better even if they're not making moves. Minnesota gets better because of their youth, right? They get better because Anthony Edwards becomes a better player. Yeah, they only picked up Luka Garza, nothing crazy.
Well,
but like
they actually. Well, did you mention the draft pick they made? I'm sorry, you may have
Denver.
You mentioned Minnesota.
I was talking about Denver with the draft picks.
You said Minnesota somewhere there, didn't you?
Yeah, Minnesota is getting better. I'm saying the team that beat them,
right? Okay, I'm sorry.
Getting even if Minnesota didn't pick up a player, like they minimal moves from Minnesota in the offseason, trade, free agency, and whatnot, they're getting better because of their youth.
Well, they did trade up to Rob Dillingham.
Yeah, I mean he's a decent point guard. He's the guy that like I think he was one of the best point guards in the league in college basketball. But he's not going to take away minutes from Ant. Right? You know what I'm saying?
No, you got better as well.
I think they get better because of their youth, not because of bringing in somebody. their development of Anthony Edwards becoming a better player makes them a better team. Whereas Denver, everybody's pretty much at their prime. So like when you're at your prime, it's really hard for you to get better. You kind of just go backwards, right? Like Aaron Gordon, we've probably seen his peak, right? I don't know if he gets any better than where he is right now. Michael Porter Jr., he still can't play defense. We see his peak. Yeah, we see his peak, and it's being able to shoot. Jamal Murray post injury has been decent at times. Yeah, he can get a fade for the win, but is he able to carry a team anymore? We don't know. And then you got Jokic, who is just he's there. He's at the top. You don't get any better than being the best player in the NBA or one of the best players in the NBA. But he's going to need help at some point because teams are going to do what LA did to him in the bubble and what Minnesota did to him last year, throw bigs, multiple bigs at you, and have everybody else try to beat you because of it.
As far as Orlando, I like the move. I think that probably adding KCP with some of the other guys developing, I see him as like a 5 seed in the East next year, which is good. That's a repeating playoff performance. It's trending upwards. Try to think of any other interesting signings. There's a couple of ones that were good. Can I tell you some of the ones I thought were like?
Sure, I'll agree or disagree.
I'll tell you good and bad. I thought I was confused by Emmanuel quickly. That was a crazy number for him. 5 years, 175 million, average of 35 million. I thought that was interesting.
Toronto's filling out a roster around Scotty.
The James Harden one made. That's a crazy number though for IQ.
Yeah,
like he's what? Is he even a top 10 point guard in the league? Probably not.
No, it is. I mean,
I can't do the numbers like listed in my head, but.
No, you're good. He doesn't really have an identity. He's not a point guard that can score. He's not a point guard that can defend. He's not a point guard that can pass. I know it's tough. We're talking over each other because of the internet.
I'm not mad at you. Yeah, I stopped talking and then like you're just frozen and I'm like, oh, he must be waiting for me to keep talking. And then all of a sudden, like I start talking and then you've been like 5 words into your sentence and I'm like, mother bleeper. All right. What else? I thought Malik Monk was a great value for the Kings. 19 million a year. He was before he got injured, he was a 6th man of the year candidate. What else we got? Chris Paul. I love that move for the Spurs. I don't know if you agree to disagree in that one. Just because, you have the point guard, a guy who's been in the league for I don't know how many years at this point, 15, 16 years, Hall of Fame player. He's going to go in there, San Antonio, kind of help create a winning culture with Wemby. And you saw what he did with OKC. He went in there. He was kind of a wash shell of himself. He helped revitalize the Oklahoma City team. I think they were a 5 seed once he went in there. A huge surprise. I just think having a guy like Chris Paul coming, even just for a year, is going to do so much for the development of some of their young players. And actually and it's going to make watching Wemby so much more fun because the greatest
Shohan.
Yeah, we move from Jeremy Sohan to like one of the greatest passers in NBA history for a 7'8" monster. It's going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think the CP signing is big because it also helps Stephon Castle. I'm high on him being, the guard out of UConn coming off a national championship, 6'6", lengthy point guard that I think has the ability to push the floor and just learn from the point guard essentially in Chris Paul while having Wemby out there. So like, no, it's not the not the signing that gets you to go from drafting in the top 5 to, the play-in right away, but it's a move in the right direction and could be that area where Wemby gets to year 3 and now you can potentially go look at a wily veteran to bring in to try to help you get over the hump.
I'm just looking at this number. I still can't believe Isaiah Hartenstein got $87 million over 3 years. Good for him, man.
Hey, man, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, I heard the last year is not guaranteed, so it's likely not. He's probably not going to get that 3rd year. Just because that's at that point they have to re-sign all their other guys, and I just don't think the salary is going to work. But I mean, that's 2 years making almost $60 million. Shout out to him. I'm trying to think. There's no one else that's really jumping off the table as far as guys who've signed. Any guesses on just shot in the dark? DeMar DeRozan still out there? You got a team for him?
Yeah, he's gonna end up in LA, and it's gonna piss me off.
Clippers.
No, he's gonna go to the Lakers. I don't want him to. I just see him finding a way to clog the paint in LA, and it's just gonna piss me off that they sign him. I like the player. I like DeMar. Don't get me wrong. I don't like him as a fit for LA with a team that's got a bunch of mid-range shooters. I would have loved Clay going there to stretch the floor, but DeMar DeRozan isn't a shooter like Klay Thompson. He goes in there and he adds to everybody else that is a driving mid-range shooter.
The only thing I'd like to see is that Gordon Hayward, I want to see him go back to the Celtics on a minimum deal. He sacrificed his ankle for that franchise. Give him a ring next year. Give him a ring.
My goodness.
Just really quick, anything that excited you from the draft? Anything that was interesting of noteworthy for you? Obviously, your Lakers made out really well. People were loving that pick at what, like 16, 17? Yeah, Dalton Connect.
Steal of the draft, and that's not even saying like that's not even me being a Laker fanboy. That's just watching the game. And this past March, unfortunate circumstances, I was able to watch all of the March Madness tournament, like every single game, more basketball than I've ever watched. And it was during the launch of betting and gambling in North Carolina too. So like I was even more invested into the March Madness tournament because I was betting. It's awesome. And being able to watch, the kid out of Tennessee, like Dalton Connect was a bucket. Whether it was shooting off the dribble, spot up shooting, dribble driving and finishing at the hoop, 6'6" wing that had the ability of scoring at every level. How he drops to 17 to me made no sense, because when he was still available at 12, I was like, please have him fall based off of where everybody else is going. And he did. And the Lakers, you could say, lucked out on it. They didn't trade up. They didn't have to do anything out of the ordinary. Pelinka is having a pretty good offseason right now with holding on to assets, even though LeBron James is on the back end of retirement, getting ready to. He's not forcing his hand to these types of things. And it paid out, man. 17th pick with Dalton Connect. I don't think there's a better steal in this draft.
I mean, they needed shooting, and they got shooting. They got one of the best shooters in the draft. I think was he shooting almost 50% from three?
I'd have to get the exact number, but I know in the tournament he was over 20 points a game.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think teams were kind of scared off just because of the age. A lot of these teams drafting in the first half of the draft, they're looking for young prospects. Dalton Connect's kind of a guy that I think he's 23? 23. So like he's probably a finished product, which is fine. The Lakers don't give a shit about prospects. They need someone who can contribute now, and he's the perfect fit. Some of the things,
like that finished project thing, to me still doesn't really make sense, because the prime of an NBA player is between 28 and 32. So like most people are still getting better between when they get into the league, no matter what age it is, between getting to the league and being around 28. And that means this kid has another 5 years to do that.
I don't think, all right, he's not a finished product. Like, he can obviously improve parts of his game. What I'm saying more of is like, by 23, if you're going to be a star player, like a top 50 player in the league, top 40, you would have shown that ability at that point. You might not be a top 10 at that point, but you're showing like, oh, this guy can be an all-star. And at 23, if you're not showing that potential, you're probably never going to be an all-star. Whereas some of these guys like a Ron Holland, he might not ever be as good as Dalton Connect, but he has potential to be a top 10 player. It's one of those things. And if you're drafting top 10, your team probably sucks, and you need the help, all the help you can get. I like the Stephon Castle pick for the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an interesting move by the Timberwolves, and I mentioned it earlier, to trade up in the draft and get Rob Dillingham. I think it's an aggressive win now move. They're at a point as far as their salary cap where they are very restricted to what they can do. They're far over the cap and over the tax level. Trading up allowed them. What was their biggest problem in the playoffs, Steve? The Timberwolves.
I want to say it was scoring.
It was scoring. Like they can play great defense. Outside of Edwards, they didn't have a lot of bucket getters.
Right.
And Rob Dillingham's a guy who is an absolute injection of scoring. And in particular, he's really good at hitting difficult shots. And he shot difficult shots, high level difficulty shots at a high clip last year. So if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're like, hey, we can trade up, we can trade some stuff in the future to get a guy that we can have under like a pretty reasonable salary for the next 4 years that can fill a need for us. As far as the Spurs, they made out well for that one. They got, I think, two future first round picks for trading up, right?
7th graders, yes. Like
Yeah.
2034.
Which is crazy because what the Spurs are trying to do is they're doing the ultimate slow burn. They're like, Wemby's going to be an absolute super duper star in 5 years. We want to have all the picks lined up so when he is at his apex, we can trade all of that shit and get co-stars and be dominant for 3-4 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing it right. I don't think Pop will be around for it, but at least he's building it. For where they were 2-3 years ago when we had no idea what Pop was rolling out there as a lineup. At least we see the writing on the wall in regards to how they're developing that team, and I think it's going in the right direction.
I on this podcast 5 months ago said that Zach Edey would not get drafted. The man went 9th overall.
Not only did he get drafted, but he got drafted top 10.
That's crazy.
In the biggest head scratcher of the night. Now I know Memphis lost. They lost their big man. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they lost their big.
They traded away Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Then they lost Brandon Clark for a year I think he tore his ACL or something.
So like, yeah, you need a big man, but like, I just didn't see that one happening. I think the videos of Zach Edey cashing threes, in his workout probably made people be like, well, wait a minute. You can probably hit some threes too. I mean, as an NBA player, I'm pretty sure everybody can hit threes. Shaq could hit open threes in the gym. So I'm not going to clown him for that, though. I'm not going to do that. But I wasn't expecting that. And if he does what I saw him do in college, hey, man, the guy got sweet feet like Yao Ming. And Yao Ming could get a bucket when we needed it, when he needed to. And he could defend. 7'4" is different, man. 7'4", 300 pounds in the paint is different when it comes to people trying to go to the hoop. And you got the guy on your team. Maybe there's one more person out there, but you got the one of the two guys in the league that actually tries to dunk on people. You have him on your team. So you don't got to worry about him. But everybody else sees 7'4" and they kind of redirect themselves like what Wemby did last year, where people be like, oh, wait, never mind. He's down there. I'm going to go ahead and spin around and try to shoot a jump shot instead.
I think you said he's got good footwork. His low post game, like he has some good footwork in the low post. I think there's two glaring weaknesses with Zach Edey that's going to actually bite him in the ass in the NBA. Well, not even shooting. That's a third weakness, I guess. Shooting is a weakness. But as far as like the footwork, if you watched him in college, they would give him the ball and he would take like 6 dribbles to get to a spot. You can't do that in the NBA, dude. You're going to get your shit stolen, your lunch stolen so quick. So like his game needs to be quicker. He needs to be more efficient. Like get the ball, one dribble, make a move, done. He doesn't do that. He backs you down like it's the 60s.
But I think that was their offense. He didn't need to be quick because there is no back to the basket rule. There's a very lenient 3 in the key rule in college. So like their offense wasn't predicated around him having to be quick because college is different in rules.
Yeah. I guess what are you going to look like in the role too? Like, are you going to be an effective pick and roll player? Secondary, said his feet are quick, but as far as in space, he is not very quick. And he's going to have to go under he's going to have to go under every screen. And it's going to be ugly if they pick on him in the high pick and roll, like from the 3-point line.
So the only reason why I'm going to defend him, not only because of how he played, college ball, but there's a guy that's still proceeded or proclaimed one of the best defenders in the league every single year that he wins Defensive Player of the Year. And he's one of the slowest, unathletic looking players in the NBA in Rudy Gobert. So if Zach Edey can just do something similar to what Gobert could do, Gobert doesn't even have a post game. Zeddy, at least, well, Zeddy, maybe we call him that. Zach Edey actually does have a post game where he can Hakeem you and hook shot or, just post, get you out of the way and go in for the layup. We don't get that out of Gobert, right? So, like, if he has a home, I'm going to go ahead and say Zach can find a way to keep his 7'4", 300-pound ass in the paint and keep people away from the rim, and then eventually get offensive rebounds, occasionally get offensive rebounds and go up and get a layup. Like, I think he has a home if Gobert is still proclaimed as one of the best defenders in the league, annoyingly, every year.
I think Gobert's a better defender. I think if Zach Edey hits his absolute like 1% potential and it's an absolute knock out of the park, the comp's Rudy Gobert. If he can, I don't think it's likely at all, but if he for some reason hits that absolute apex, yeah, you're looking at a Gobert type player. Still high though. Still high.
That's okay. Very high for him for where he got drafted. I'm not agreeing with how the spot that he got drafted, but I'm saying he's still an NBA caliber player. There were people saying second round. I was like, no.
I would have liked to see them talk to the Trailblazers, because right before them, the Trailblazers took Donovan Clingan. Now the Trailblazers have Donovan Clingan, Time Lord, and DeAndre Ayton. Like, you have 3 centers now. I don't know what the Trailblazers are going to do. One of those guys are going to get traded somewhere, I assume.
This is the easy start bench cut. You start Clingan, you cut Rob, and you bench Ayton. Yeah, that is as simple as it gets to that game. Maybe even just trade Ayton because he gives you nothing offensively.
I don't know what his value is going to be at this.
Yeah,
I would prefer Time Lord over Ayton if Rob was healthy. If Rob,
there you go. Yes, we all know what comes the baggage that comes with the luggage. Not even just baggage, the luggage, the legit you more than just a carry on and a personal item. Like, you got to check your bags at the gate 5 times and pay 5 times the fees. That's what you bring along with Rob Williams when it comes to injuries. Like, it's just guaranteed that he's going to miss time.
Yeah, in a vacuum, if they were both healthy, though, I like Rob over Ayton as far as a player.
Yes. Yeah, definitely more hustle.
I'm trying to think any other notable things. The only thing I would want to throw is I really like the pick of Nikola Topic from the Thunder. What's that?
I'm glad you said that, because I know I can't remember if I texted this to you or just the many groups that I have. Hey, for those that are listening to us internationally, because we Philippines a couple weeks ago, we appreciate y'all for listening to us and watching us and blowing up our Facebook, social media. That was amazing. We love you guys for that. But anybody that is over in the European area, if you got the name Nikola, just pick up a basketball. That's all you got to do. Just pick the ball up and just start dribbling. Occasionally shoot. It doesn't even matter if it goes in, because if your name is Nikola, you're getting drafted in the NBA. It's like a guarantee. No matter how good you are, if your name is Nikola, you're getting drafted. Proceed.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I liked that pick. He's going to miss next year most likely, but they're so stacked, dude. No Clemency, they don't need him next year. It's a redshirt year. And I think before he was injured, he was projected to be like one of the 3 or 4 most highly rated guys in this draft. So he's projected to be a top 4 or 5 pick, and then he gets hurt and slips to 13? Slips to 12. So I like the pick. Nothing else really jumps out to me in this draft. It was obviously a weaker draft compared to most as far as premier talent, as far as how we perceive the draft. But you never know how these things go. One of these guys can become a superstar under our nose. Oh, dude, I did want to shout out France though.
Yeah, France.
Top 2 picks, 1 and 2 from France.
1 last year.
And 3 of the top 6. 3 of the top 6 players drafted from France. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is. I don't know what they're doing over there. What they're feeding these guys. Zachary. I say that. Zachary.
Zachary Richase.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get the last name right, but I did watch a highlight video of Alex Sarr. My goodness, like there's something wrong. Like I don't think, and this is a tangent. Like we weren't supposed to see a LeBron James, right? Like the human eye wasn't supposed to see 6'8", 6'9", 250, 4 speed, 50-inch vert. Those guys were meant to just be very slow. LeBron James was like made, randomly, and people were like, oh my goodness, we'll never get to see this again. And then along came Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then there's three of them that are just 6'10". They're fast as shit, strong as hell. They can move athletically. Like the human body wasn't supposed to do this. He's made out of a bottle. And then back-to-back years, we see a 7'10" dude out of France that moves like a gazelle and has the handles like a point guard and can shoot like a shooting guard. And now we have Alex Sarr, another 7-footer out of France, 220 ball handle, can hit the step back jump shot and defend in the paint. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on internationally, and this isn't even a plug for the Olympics, but like the United States, y'all better get right, because these boys is growing up in Europe and they trying to take people's jobs. They're trying to say, I don't care if you went to Duke, I don't care if you went to UNC, UConn, none of that shit. We're coming out from Slovenia, we're coming out from France, we're coming out from anywhere in Europe, and we're taking y'all's jobs. So it ain't a foregone conclusion that the United States is going to be dominant in basketball forever, because these boys is just, they coming out of nowhere with size, athleticism, and skill. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah, man, France is gonna have a pretty good team in the Olympics. I'm looking forward to that. So, and Canada's got a good team too.
Canada's got a good team. Yeah, I was like, don't worry about France. You don't worry about Canada. Canada got Shea. That's all you need. Let alone everything else that they got on their team. They got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and you're like, shit, we got to deal with that.
They got your boy Dylan Brooks too. I don't want to deal with that.
They do have Dylan Brooks. Yep.
Hey, at this point, right? It's not even a contest. If you did United States basketball players versus international basketball players, international team absolutely whoops the USA's ass, right? If you just combined all the countries,
yes.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's an ass whooping, because then
it's not
you still
close,
get
though.
What's what?
It's not close though.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to agree with you on that one. There's a lot of skill international, and they're just as big. They just think of, if you go size, if you go position by position, and then best at in the United States, best at European. You start with Luka, who's 6'8".
Top 4 players are international.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Luka's 6'8". Who's the point guard for the United States right now? I don't even think Jalen Brunson is United States. But who's the point guard for the US?
I don't know the actual roster.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
point guard.
Kyrie, I mean, he's technically US, yeah, but he could be for Australia if he wanted to. So yeah, so
Kyrie
there you go.
Outer space in the Olympics.
You could say Kyrie, right? Well, you got to match up against Luka, right? Like, that's just crazy to think of.
I'm curious what the roster is, but I'm not gonna be able. I'll pull up when we're doing the closing takes. D, this was a fun show. I'm glad we could talk a lot of NBA. I hate this show though, because this internet thing has been driving me absolutely bananas the entire time. I don't know if you see my face. I'm like ready to flip my computer.
It's very red, but you're good. We're at the tail end of it, so we're good.
We'll fix this for next week. I promise. We gotta recap the 4th of July hot dog eating contest. That's an absolute sham.
That he's no longer in it. Yeah.
And Joey Chestnut's is bullshit. They ruined my 4th of July. Thank you, Nathans. But let's close out, shall we?
The show is coming to an end. But first, it's time to get to anything we've missed. It's closing time. 1 segment, 2 takes. Go.
Closing take. Since we're on the basketball theme, it's a time to ISO ball and kind of get off what we want to get off. D, I got the guards for you, by the way, while that was playing.
Yeah, I found them too.
We got Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, Tyrese Halliburton. So you can stick Anthony Ant-Man on him. It's a good matchup. My closing takes, since we just talked about 4th of July, I just want to give a little recap. The last time we met, I talked about additional sports going on you could check out, during the lulls of football and the lulls of basketball. I was very into the Copa Americana, or the Copa America.
Until
all the best teams in Central, North, and South America. Mother effing USA, you guys suck ass. We should be better than this. I will say this. We were in a group with Bolivia, Panama, and Uruguay. We lost them 1-0, 1-0. Understandable. Uruguay, thank you. The big L was versus Panama. They got slapped with the red card. The USA within like the first 20 minutes of the game. It's really hard to win 10 men down a man. And they're out, man. USA is out. They got bounced. They couldn't make it out of the group. It's kind of an embarrassment. We're hosting the Olympics and the World Cup in a couple of years. We can't even get out of the first round of the Copa America. Something's got to change, D. Something's got to change.
Good luck. They need to start forging birth certificates and say, people that are born in France can play for the United States, because that's all they got. They got nothing going for them, unfortunately, on the U.S. soil. Who's that kid that was supposed to be like the up and coming Cristiano Ronaldo? I thought his name was like Danny something that played soccer in the United States.
Oh man, there was one dude. Yes, he played. Oh man, so long ago. Yeah. Freddie Adu. Freddie Adu was one of them. Maybe it was him. He played for the Revolution. Yeah. That dude, this 18-year-old phenom, everyone was like, this guy's going to change American soccer. And he was just, nah.
Nothing.
What Freddie Adu's up to nowadays? Wow, that name.
Oh, my goodness.
Nowhere. So, yeah, wow. a little soccer update for you.
I like it. So I'm actually going non-sports related. And in this time of us, like, having more time on our I would say available for us, because sports aren't really on as much, picked up watching some movies, and I'm going to shout out a movie, but this closing take is more about the way that people are. And movie is called Greenland. Great movie, came out in 2020, apocalyptic style movie. I think it was 2020 that came out. Yeah, 2020. Apocalyptic style movie, the comet that's going to hit the earth and a whole bunch of shit happens, obviously. Definitely hit some heartstrings, a lot of family ties that like go make you, especially if you got little ones, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. But it was a great movie. That's not even really where I'm going with this. I'm going with this in Greenland. Yeah, Greenland. Yep. Or Greenland. Okay. That's just how I pronounce it. Sorry. But I'm going more on like the reviews side of things. I can't stand if there's. It's not up there as a pet peeve yet, but it's dangerously increasing. People that review shit. Like, I don't need to know that you didn't like the movie because it's unrealistic. Like, keep that kind of shit to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that it's did it hit the points of a movie that it's supposed to? Was it an emotional style movie? Yes. Was there action involved? Yes. Was there a conclusion to the movie? There was. What else do you want? You know what I'm saying? But like people that are like 1 star, I'm not recommending because, the comet hit the earth and it blew it up. What happens, and people are supposed to survive? No, people aren't. Shit could happen. Like, you're mad that they made a movie where damn near everybody fucking died? Don't watch the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not only that, like, I want another movie. Again, all about movies now.
You're on a roll right now.
Another, gonna go off on a tangent. Another great movie that I see.
Another one. It's
from Disney. All right. The kids are all on it, right? They love this movie. It's called Wish. I like the movie. It's a little bit different animation, than the typical Disney Pixar type stuff, or just like the Lion King type. And like, it's a different style of movie, right? And it's like a 3.0 review on like, IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. People are like, oh, I don't like it. The cinematronics are terrible. The songs aren't memorable. It's like, I want to know what fucking songs in Disney you remember. Like what song, what movie did you go, oh my goodness, this is a 10 out of 10. And it hits everything that all the kids want. I'm a 70-year-old dude like reviewing a movie for a 3-year-old. And I think this movie sucks. Like, what are you doing with your time? To just like your fingers, like, I can't wait to put out a bad review. This movie sucks. Like, those type of people, man, like, again, if I had the ability to utilize my one elbow a day, it would probably come across somebody that leaves a 1-star review of movies. Like, I see you, as soon as you hit send, I can be like, yo, you leave a bad review? Yeah, that was me. Pow! Have a good day. And just like go home.
I don't know why you got me thinking about this. Speaking of just dumb movies that are completely unrealistic, when I flew back from Florida, you know, you watch the movies on the plane. I wanted just something stupid. I'm like, oh, I just want to watch a movie just to like vibe with. And I saw someone watching the movie on the way to Florida, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance to lay back. I watched Beekeeper with Jason Statham. Dude, it was the dumbest shit, but I loved it. He just kicked ass for an hour and a half straight. The plot line was so dumb, but he just whooped everyone's ass with everything that you could think of, like a water bottle, boom, take out a whole army. I'm like, this is great. I don't even care. I'm just enjoying this.
Every movie Jason Statham is in, he plays the same character, whether it's Crank, whether it's Beekeeper, whether it's the transporter, whatever it is. He's just somebody that's out there whooping everybody's ass. Essentially the same reason why they had to stop putting Liam Neeson in movies, because he was just out there whooping everybody's ass. And they were like, all right, man, like, we understand that you, we get it. You know, you like, not even Sylvester Stallone. Who was the old guy that used to be in the other dude, other fighters, you know, that used to be in movies? I feel like he was Colonel Guy. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes. And then there's another dude that had the slick hair.
Steven Seagal. Yes. And like, you always knew if he was in the movie whooping ass,
somebody was getting their ass whooped. Yeah. Like after a while, like, yo, man, like you got to at least like take at least one ass whooping, or like, I don't know, be the Tooth Fairy, you know, throw us a curveball. Be Santa Claus, you know what I'm saying, in a movie? I don't know. But no, you just out there whooping ass and end the movie by like just saying, yeah, I kicked everybody's ass again.
We got such a tangent about maybe one of these slow weeks we're just gonna talk about random ass movies. That'd be fun.
When I got too much time on my hands, I tend to do random things like watch these types of movies, and I love watching movies, so I'm happy about it.
Well, soon you won't have any time on your hands because NCAA 25 will come out in a couple weeks.
Man, my time is so invested into that game already. It's not even out yet.
Fun show. D, get us out of here, right?
Perfect, man. As we say when we getting up out of here, we couldn't appreciate you guys anymore. And just like I shouted them out early today, Agile Nate, I appreciate the sub, man, making our channel, making my channel better each and every time you guys are here. Those that were able to comment, review, we appreciate you being here on Facebook, YouTube, or on on Twitch. Trudeau's over there yelling at somebody.
So I'm just wearing under my breath.
No, you're good. You're good. But stop talking so I can finish talking. Get us out of here. You're cutting me off. No, I'll get us out of here the right way. As we say when we getting up out of here, please make sure you follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. You can find us on the X, formerly known as Twitter. Websites at the bottom, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Rate, subscribe, review, all that goodness is going to help us out. Hit the follow button as well. When you get a chance, www.frizzandthegrizz.com. That's where you can find all of our gear that we don't sell yet. One of these days, we'll make it big time and we'll sell you guys sweatshirts, hoodies, and all that. Just not right now. As we get up out of here, we got to say, please make sure y'all take care of y'all mentals. Ooh, I almost forgot. Be a friend. Say something nice. It might help somebody. Take care of y'all mentals. Make sure y'all take care of y'all physicals. Take care of y'all chicken. Take care of y'all children. Don't blow off your fingers on 4th of July, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.
The Bears are who we thought they were. That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.